Today we will discuss some concentration inequalities. These concentration inequalities, it's a very vast topic. We will only discuss some very elementary inequalities. Basically, what these concentration inequalities say is that they give you certain probability bounds on random variables taking atypical values. Okay, so that is roughly the plain English level. That's what it is. So if you're talking about, let's say, a random variable with a certain mean and a certain variance. For example, one of the inequalities we will say that the probability of a random variable taking values outside a certain range of the mean is very small. Okay, so essentially it's called concentration because the probability concentrates around a certain range, right. So, and these kind of inequalities are called concentration inequalities, and it is a very vast topic. Okay. So, we will only do some very elementary ones. So, the most important one is called Markov's inequality. This says that if x is a non-negative random variable, then so here you are looking at a non-negative random variable and some alpha greater than 0, and this is Markov's inequality. This says that the probability that x takes values larger than alpha is at most expectation of x over alpha. Okay. So, this should be greater than alpha. Okay. X greater than alpha is less than or equal to expectation of x over alpha. Okay. So, this is meaningful. So, this is always true, okay, for any non-negative random variable, but this is meaningful obviously only when expectation of x is less than alpha, right. For only for values alpha bigger than expectation of x is this even meaningful. If not, you will get something here that is bigger than 1, and then you are just saying that the probability is less than 1, right. That is completely trivial. But if you are so let me say useful for alpha bigger than expectation of x. So, it just says that this is a very weak kind of an inequality, but it is a very universal inequality for non-negative random variables. So, if you are considering a value that is bigger than the expectation, so it says that the probability of the random variable becoming larger than that alpha is less than or equal to expectation of x over alpha. It goes down as 1 over alpha, okay, goes down at least as fast as 1 over alpha. Okay. So, for example, the probability of a random non-negative random variable taking value greater than twice its expectation is at most half, right. That is the kind of result this is. So, the proof is very elementary. So, you have expectation of x is equal to, you can write it like this, right. You can write it as expectation of x indicator x less than or equal to alpha plus expectation of x times the indicator of x greater than alpha, correct? That is because I have skipped a step. So, this indicator and that indicator have to add to 1, right, and I am using linearity of expectations. So, this indicator fires only when x is less than or equal to alpha, right. So, when this indicator fires, this x is less than or equal to alpha, right. So, this means that this is less than or equal to alpha plus is that right? So, expectation of this indicator actually, you know what, no, that is not what I want to do, apologize, this is not true, right. So, what I want to do is to say that actually I want to bound it this way, is it not. So, I have to say that this is greater than or equal to so this guy is actually non negative, is not it, that bit is non negative because x is a non negative random variable, yeah. So, this is non negative, yeah. So, I want to go this way, after all I want expectation greater than or equal to something, right. So, I want the inequality to go this way. So, I get this is greater than or equal to expectation of x times indicator x bigger than alpha that is greater than or equal to, or as rather greater than, or so wait a second. So, this is greater than or equal to actually alpha times the expectation of the indicator of x bigger than alpha. Right? You agree with that? Because I know that this indicator will fire only if x is bigger than alpha. So, if I put alpha here, right, so I will get something that is smaller, right, and I can bring that out, and this is nothing but alpha times the probability of the expectation of indicator is fine. It is actually fairly elementary, right. So, I messed up this inequality in the beginning. So, this is just 3 steps. Okay. So, this is Markov inequality. So, this Markov inequality is often very loose. Okay. So, this only says that the probability of x becoming very large, some very large value alpha, goes down like 1 over alpha, right. So, by the way, this is for non negative random variable with expectation of x finite. Okay. Often, so this 1 over alpha decay of this probability is often a very conservative estimate. Okay. Often this probability goes down much quicker, but Markov inequality is very weak. Okay. It only gives you that. So, if you want to look at the probability of x becoming larger than 10 times its mean, you only say it is like roughly like 1 over 10, right. It is a very often it decays much quicker for commonly encountered distributions. Okay. So, although this is the most simplest inequality, concentration inequality, you can strengthen these kind of probabilities if you assume further, if you make further assumptions. Okay. For example, when you assume a finite variance, you get a quicker decay that goes like the squared. Okay. That is the next thing I will do. The Chebyshev's inequality. This Chebyshev is it's spelt in very different ways. I believe it is pronounced Chebyshev and it is pronounced with a T, Z and so on, right. Like there are several spellings of this. I do not know what the correct spelling is. Okay. I believe it is pronounced like Chebyshev. If x is a random variable with mean mu and variance sigma squared. So, this is all finite. Then probability of so, this is Chebyshev's inequality. So, now you are taking a random variable with mean mu. This random variable need not be non-negative, okay. It is any random variable, but it must have finite variance, okay. Finite variance implies finite mean. So, mu and sigma are both finite, okay. This is mean, this is variance. Now, we are saying that this Chebyshev's inequality says that the probability. So, you are looking at the absolute value of the difference between x and the mean, right. So, what is the probability that the random variable exceeds the mean in absolute value by k times the standard deviation, right, and we are saying that goes down like 1 by k squared, 1 upon k squared, okay. So, to just give you a picture, generally you are considering some random variable, this is let us say let us for the sake of argument say this has some density, okay, does not have to, but let us say your mean is somewhere here and let us say your standard deviation is about that much, okay. So, we are saying that the probability of the random variable, let us say this is k sigma, this is mu plus k sigma, all right, and this is mu minus k sigma, right. So, let me say that is k sigma, okay. So, you are saying that the difference, the probability of the random variable taking values outside k times the standard deviation from the mean goes down like 1 over k squared, okay. So, again see another way of saying it is probability of, there is another way of saying this, or you can say probability of x minus mu greater than c is less than or equal to sigma squared over c squared, is not it. This is for c greater than 0. This is another way of saying it. So, the probability of x minus mu exceeding c is at most sigma squared over c squared, right. You put c equal to k sigma, you will get this back. So, again, so recall that the sigma represents how widely spread the random variable is, right. So, this bound will be fairly small if your sigma is small, right, but in any case the important thing is it goes down like the squared of what you are considering the deviation c or the k, right. So, the proof is very simple. What you do is you apply Markov inequality to the non-negative random variable, absolute value of x minus mu squared, okay. So, in that case what will you have? You will have probability of so the x minus mu squared is obviously a non negative random variable. You are looking at the probability that it exceeds k squared sigma squared, which is obviously less than or equal to expectation of x minus mu squared over k squared sigma squared, right, but that is nothing but sigma squared. What is on the top is sigma squared, right. So, that is equal to 1 over k squared. Okay. So, Markov inequality tells you, it only assumes finite mean, it tells you a 1 over alpha kind of a decay. Chebyshev's inequality assumes a finite variance, it gives you 1 over k squared kind of a decay, right. So, a little bit tighter in that sense, but you need finite variance. Actually, even Chebyshev's inequality often turns out to be quite loose. Okay. For example, if you have a random variable which is, let us say, exponentially distributed, you know that probability of x greater than, let us say, probability of x greater than alpha goes down like e power minus mu alpha, right, right. So, that is exponentially fast, right. So, even this 1 over k square kind of estimate is not a very good estimate, right, because here you are using only variance information, there you are using only mean, here you are using mean and variance. So, if you have, so you can often tighten these kind of inequalities if you make further assumptions. So, if you assume that the third moment is finite, you can get some k cubed, or no, if you assume fourth moment is finite, you can get 1 over k to the 4 and so on, right, that is not a big deal. So, finally, if you assume, so I mean taking this to even further, if you assume that the moment generating function of the random variable x is finite in some neighborhood of the origin, then you can get some exponentially decaying concentration bounds, okay. Because after all, if your see the moment generating function is expectation of e power s x, right, and if you are saying that this is finite for some in some neighborhood of the origin, then you are saying that some exponential moment exists, right, which means you can get exponentially decaying concentration bounds for such random variables, right. In fact, I will not spend too much time on this. This is such an inequality does exist. It is a very important inequality called Chernoff bound. Okay, have you heard of it? Chernoff bound. So, I will just briefly indicate what it is, but I will not spend too much time on it, okay, because we have to move on to limit theorems and so on. So, Chernoff bound is very useful because it gives you exponential estimates, okay. So, let us say assume that m x of s, which is nothing but expectation of e power s x, is finite for s belonging to minus epsilon some interval around the origin, okay. Then you can say that let us say you are looking for, then let us say you are looking for the probability of x becoming bigger than some alpha, okay, same kind of a similar to this, okay. But so this you can write as probability of e power s x bigger than e power s alpha, isn't it, for s bigger than 0. If my s is bigger than 0, I certainly have. So, this will be a monotonically increasing function, right. So, e power s x, so x bigger than alpha is same as e power s x bigger than e power s alpha, is that right? S x s, yeah, that is right, fine, agreed. Now, for s, so s is bigger than 0 and e power s x is a non negative random variable, right. So, I can apply Markov inequality. So, you see you keep going back to Markov inequality, it is a very weak inequality, but it kind of forms the foundation of so many other inequalities. Okay. So, you have, so by Markov inequality we have that probability of x bigger than alpha is less than or equal to mx of s, right, this is mx of s. So, the expectation of e power s x divided by e power this guy, right. So, this you will agree, right. This is valid for all s such that s is bigger than 0 and of course, this guy must be finite, right. So, you have assumed that it is finite for some s belonging to minus epsilon epsilon, but this may not be the domain of convergence, right. So, this is valid for s bigger than 0 and s belongs to domain of convergence dx, right, that is what we denoted, right, with the domain of convergence. So, well and good. So, and this is true for, so this is true for all s bigger than 0 and all s in the domain of convergence. So, this is already an exponential bound if you notice, right, s is bigger than 0. So, this is something that decays exponentially in alpha, correct. So, this is a much tighter estimate. Now, so you have freedom to choose s, correct. So, what kind of s will you choose? So, you have to choose the s that infimizes this whole thing, right. So, you can say that, so this is again less than or equal to infimum s positive and of course, s has to be in the domain of convergence, infimum all this mx of s e power minus s alpha, okay. Now, sometimes people use the log moment generating function. So, people write mx of s as e power is like you take the log of this guy, call it the log moment generating function. Let us say, so you define, let lambda x of s equal to log mx of s wherever it is defined, and then so you can write this as e power minus let me do this properly, s alpha minus lambda x of s sup, right, sup, this becomes sup here, is not it, when I take it up, sup s bigger than 0, right. Because there is a negative sign, it becomes a sup.